really want to do is get sunlight, right, to raise those levels because you get all the other benefits of sunlight, thousands of them, improves, cellular function, improves mitochondrial function. So you want to get sunlight as your form of.
So let's pause this right here. Shout out to everybody that's watching this on the replay. There's a guy by the name of Nicholas Holscher. Nicholas Holscher. Go look him up, right? Look him up on the YouTube, wherever you need to look him up. I'm going to rewind this because he's dropping some jewels. He's definitely dropping jewels. And I'm going to keep it real. I don't know how many people are going to see this video because I didn't try to outsmart YouTube. You understand? I just put the title up how it is. So you know how YouTube will read the title and figure out if they're going to share it or not. I don't know if they're going to share this or not, but I want to talk about some things. Actually, I want to talk about a number of things. It is Friday, so we could actually just rock out, truth be told. But let's start here. Let's start here. Um I'm on a website called biospace.com. And it says the White House has denied reports that the government could soon ban COVID-19 vaccines, noting that in the absence of an official announcement, any discussion about HHS policy should be dismissed as baseless speculation. President Donald Trump and Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. are reportedly considering a ban on COVID-19 vaccine within months, according to a Monday report from the Daily Beast. The Daily Beast spoke to Asim I don't know how to say that last name, Malhotra, a British cardiologist and top advisor to the Make America Healthy Again action, who said that many of the people closest to Kennedy have told the secretary that they cannot understand why he continues to administer the vaccine. Several members of Trump's family share this skepticism of the COVID-19 vaccine, according to Malhotra. Should we break there? Why would they continue to administer the vaccine if it doesn't seem to be working or causing more problems than it is causing solution? Why do you think? I think that answer is rhetorical and we're not going to even answer it right now. Let's keep going. The withdrawal of the coronavirus shots from the US market could happen in a number of stages, according to Malhotra, which could include looking into vaccine safety data. I mean, that's a good place to start. What do you think? But given the increased talk of vaccine injuries in the past few weeks among the administration, it could also come with one clean decision. I seem to remember being a blanket protection against the vaccine makers, which was skeptical at in the least from the beginning, right? The fact that I think this is crazy that we're even having this conversation. The people that do the worst are being protected. That don't say nothing to you. Dr. Fauci protected. The pharmaceutical industries, the pharmaceutical companies, which I know YouTube is heavily invested in, but I don't care tonight because I can't always do things so cautiously that we don't have the conversation. I want to know where all those people are that was pushing for everyone else to get this vaccine. Well, what they call a vaccine. But if you keep watching my show, we're going to find out this was never a vaccine. That's number one. But where are all those people that every time you said, I don't know about this, you said, oh, you're an anti-vaxxer. Who said that? I said, I don't know about this. This is a totally different thing, right? Never in the history of never did we ever have to discuss something called mRNA, right? It was always the flu vaccine, the chickenpox vaccine, the this vaccine. You don't even know how this works, and yet you sitting here trying to guilt trip me on my consideration, my careful consideration on whether I want to inject this thing in my body. It has not been carefully tested. The quality assurance, history, and experience is not there. Hit the like button as you come in. And yet you had all these people, these sheeple, part of a group think tank, right? Because when people get scared and they don't want to be the only one out there, they didn't know what else to do, so now they pushing you. Just get it. Just put on the mask. None of it didn't have to make sense. Imagine that. It didn't even have to make sense. Here your kids are breathing their carbon dioxide in for 7 hours a day, depriving them of the necessary oxygen they need as they're still developing, and you just worried about following the rules blindly because you don't want to go against what the people in the white coat say. Now, looking back, hindsight being 2020, we're discovering so many things. A lot of you just coming in, so I'm gonna rewind this a little bit. This is Nicholas Holscher, I think his name is. Yep,
Holscher. Vitamin D if you can.
Hold up. Let me bring it back like 30 seconds.
So what you really want to do is get sunlight, right, to raise those levels, because you get all the other benefits of sunlight. Thousands of them. Improves, cellular function, improves mitochondrial function. So you want to get sunlight as your form of vitamin D if you can. Is absolutely critical, right? If you
stop there, you're gonna figure out who Nick is in a second and what authority he has to even be saying anything that makes any type of sense, like getting your vitamin D from sunlight. What I want to remind you of is the guy who tried to block the sun out. And if it makes any sense to you now why he tried to block the sun. What I'm telling you is these things are planned. Yeah, you can call it a conspiracy theory. You call it what you want to call it. I don't care. But as long as it makes sense at the end of the day, and you could call me a bunch of names. But the facts are this. There was one guy named Bill Gates, who tried to block the sun out. That's a fact. That's a fact. And I knew when he tried to block this, I said, why? I know why you're trying to block the sun out, because people need that vitamin right there, and you really trying to weaken people's immune system. See, they do things in stages so that you don't catch on. Hit the like button for me, though. Do me a favor and hit the like button. Now, if you haven't seen this here video, let me bring it all the way back. Is there a way for me to bring it all the way back? I guess I just got to keep hitting the rewind button. All right, I'm going to play it from the beginning, and then I'm going to do some reaction to it.
Okay, well, firstly, thank you for your time. I know it's been, a little bit of a struggle trying to get you here just because you were extremely busy. Honestly, every time I turn around, you're a guest on someone else's show or on the news.
For whatever reason, they had some audio malfunctions going on. But this is a conversation I would love everyone to stick around for tonight and have with me. If you could do me a favor, if you could find a way to hit that like button, I would really appreciate it. Go ahead and hit that like button. Find the like button. Hit the like button. If you're only watching, hold on. Let's see if we can do it like this. If you're only watching, if you're not really watching from, you know how you can watch the live from without actually hitting on the person's account? Do me a favor and hit the account and hit the like button. And try to set this up for you. Okay. I don't know how that's going to work. All right, as long as you can see it. Bear with the audio. If you can't hear it, let me know. But this is going to be a good conversation tonight. And then I'll decide if I'm going to go into the book 1900 or The Last President, which for some strange reason is a book about Barron Trump. I'll decide if I want to talk about that tonight or tomorrow night. But it is that book will have you believing in time travel for sure. So we'll save that for later. Let's get into this because this is very important. Whether RFK and Trump are actually going to stop and ban the COVID-19 vaccine, should they, right? And is it a vaccine at all? Is it even a vaccine?
Great. Showing that people are tapping into your expertise regarding mRNA, COVID, the effects thereof, etc. I wanted to go and read a little bit from your bio, if you're okay, that I pulled from the McCullough Foundation, since you are the administrator of the McCullough Foundation. For those.
All right. You guys don't know, he works for the McCullough Foundation. Peter McCullough, as in one of the co-creators of the mRNA technology. We already have the views going down. That's okay. I'm still going to do this video for the people on the replay because YouTube will shut this type of video down. But this is a discussion that we should be having. But YouTube, as you guys know, I'm going to continue doing the video. They don't want us to have this conversation. I don't believe these people are humanoids. They are a different species that is purposely trying to poison and enslave the Homo sapien down here on this planet. And that has to be evident. Don't ever think you're weird for thinking that, because that's exactly what's happening right now.
You don't know, that is, yes, Peter McCullough, Dr. Peter McCullough, which is really cool that you are working with him and you're bringing your expertise with you. So Nicholas, for those who don't know, I'm just going to read a little bit. Nicholas Holscher is an epidemiologist, administrator at the McCullough Foundation, born and raised in Michigan. So earned a Bachelor of Science in Pre-Health Professional Studies from the Oakland University Honors College in 2020, graduating with...
I'm not going to hold you, Nicholas. You do look like Yakub, the big head scientist. I'm not going to lie to you. But you are very intelligent, and I wanted the people to hear what you had to say.
Institutional and departmental honors. You went on to receive a Master of Public Health, which, by the way, hats off to you. And so you specialize in epidemiology from the University of Michigan State of Public Health in 2024, and that's when you got your MPH. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then what was really interesting to me is, you don't have a long career, but man, did you do a lot. Since 2023, it says here you did 16 peer-reviewed scientific studies, which included systematic reviews, original investigations, and case reports, which, it significantly advanced the understanding of COVID-19 vaccine injuries, syndromes, and everything else that goes along with that. So I just needed to say that. So,
And the same thing he's about to say, I'm about to say. I'm glad that he ran down his education, because when Nick starts talking and really enlightens us, I'm gonna keep it real with you. I never really understood what the spike protein was before today and how it came about, and mainly because of the choice to use the word protein, because the way we interpret the word protein is something positive, something healthy, something very much needed. Most of us, I didn't. Let me speak for myself. I did not take that word as the simple scientific definition. I took it as like, okay, protein, the spike protein, something that's good that I need. No, don't make the same mistake I made. And when Nicholas starts to break this down, it's very apparent. And as he broke it down, I went and researched this, and this is not your traditional vaccine. We'll get into it.
people know who you are, or at least get a little bit of a background. So that's why I'm very happy that you agreed to be on the show, because it's like I'm talking to someone who actually has knowledge, which is great. So, therefore, I want to start here because one of my friends who has another podcast, he's more geopolitics and stuff like that. He used to be an analyst for the military. What his concern was in doing this with you.
If you can't see this, his name is George Fontes, and the name of his website is worldablaze.podcast.com. I'm using his content, so the least I can do is shout him out in case you can't see it from where you're at. Okay, worldablaze.podcast.com.
Is he wanted an unbiased assessment and explanation of mRNA. Too often, it has been very politically biased, and especially from those in the medical profession. So that's what I'm hoping we get here. My political leanings and yours, regardless. I hope that we can get an unbiased explanation of what actually is mRNA. And I would like to start there because I think there's a lot of confusion, because we only found out about it during the pandemic. And that's when everybody became aware of what mRNA may be, but we still don't really know. It is and what we're actually referring to.
Yes, yes. So when we think of vaccines, right, that's like everything that's been injected into our children, for the past many, many decades, about 100 years, over 100 years. Vaccines are, when you inject a killed antigen or a killed virus or whatever, not mRNA, we're not talking about that. When you inject those killed virons or whatever, combined with an adjuvant, right, which is usually aluminum. Sometimes they preserve these with thimerosal, which is a form of mercury, or they used to. That's normal vaccines, right? That's it. It's just basically killed virus material, right? And so what happens with mRNA?
Before he even gets to what happened with mRNA, if you could hit the like button, I would appreciate it. We got 9 people in here. If you hit the like button, we can have some more people in here, and we can have an intelligent conversation. It don't cost you anything to hit the like button. Please hit the like button. So what he's saying is, traditional vaccine would have a piece of the actual virus in it, and it would inject it into you, low dosages, so that your system could recognize it as a foreign object, and then it would know how it would go ahead and get familiar with it, so that later on it wouldn't totally overpower you, right? So you would be injected with a little piece of it. Um, as far as the edges that he's using, he's talking about using the aluminum and thermosol and all of that. I'm not that familiar to be having that type of discussion. I know what those things are, but I'm not a scientist to say why they were using it, this, that, and the third. What he's about to explain, though, and what I learned today, is that the mRNA vaccine doesn't give you a piece of the virus. What it does is it basically gives the code for your body to fight it off. So it tells your body, listen, create this to fight this. Create this to fight this. It's not the traditional sense of here's a little piece of this, get familiar with it. It's actually telling your genetic code to create something. And that something is called the spike protein. Now, I'm going to let him finish getting busy. Hopefully you guys can hear the audio. Hit the like button, please.
It's completely different. mRNA is not a vaccine, right? They might claim it's a vaccine. It might be called a vaccine in the news. It might be called a vaccine by the CDC, but it does not work like a traditional vaccine. It is a gene transfer technology. It actually meets the definition of a gene therapy. Why do I say that? Well, because so how does it work? So let's start with how it works, right? So you have lipid nanoparticles, which are little bubbles of basically fat, right? That's what you could call it. So you have these lipid nanoparticles, think of them like bubbles, and inside of them is billions of mRNA, modified mRNA, messenger ribonucleic acid. These bubbles, once it's injected, travel to every single organ system in the body, including the heart, including the brain, including the bone marrow, and basically every organ system you can think of. That's now been confirmed. Man, sorry about this. My cat is...
All right. He definitely has a little bit of ADHD. He started getting off topic about his cat, but don't worry. We'll get back to that. However, remember when we was told that it just stays in the arm? It just stays in... Remember when we was told that? That's wild. I got 6 people in here with 3 likes. The math is not adding up. I would like if you could possibly hit the like button. I'm saying that because I want the algorithm to know that we're over here having an important conversation and it would let more people in. That's why, right? I'm not asking for money. This show is it's not gonna make me, I can tell you that. So it's not about money. But I would like for the software to let everybody know he's over here having a conversation. Thank you very much. Thank you to the one person. Appreciate that.
Literally
It's okay.
throwing my camera around.
Hey, we're gonna leave it in because you're human and we're our schedules have been tight. So the fact that you're able to sit down with me, I get it. But please keep going about mRNA because you're saying that how it goes into the body and starts spreading to is it other organs and whatnot?
Yes. So yeah, we'll continue from there. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, the cat comes in. It's like we're talking very serious here.
I know.
These catastrophic harms, and then we
Life.
Yeah, that's what happens. All right. So yeah. So we talked about vaccines. Right.
We did
This
it.
killed virus and an adjuvant to evoke immune response. Those are vaccines. Now we're on gene therapies, this mRNA technology, right? So we talked about the bubbles, the banana particles go into every organ system. And then once they easily get uptaken into cells because the cells like this material on the outer coating of the lipid nanoparticles. So they're going to trick the cells uptake them, and then it releases modified mRNA, which then the mRNA goes into what's called ribosomes, these small organelles in your cells. It goes into these ribosomes in all your organ systems and instructs those cells to produce a toxic, highly pathogenic, non-human protein, the spike protein. So then you have...
All right, that part right there, that's where I was getting confused. I did not know the spike protein was actually, because again, they're using the word protein, I was kind of thrown off. And I had no idea what spike had to do with it at all. But when you put it together, it's kind of like saying anti-Semitic, where you really believe in the beginning, like, wait a minute, this is a bad word. That really does mean the hatred for Jews. But then when you separate the word and you just take anti, which means against, and then you take Shemitic, that has to do with the family of languages in a certain region, then you realize, how could this ever mean the hatred of Jews? This word makes absolutely no sense. Are you just telling me poppycock, hoping that I believe you? So when it comes to spike protein, I really thought that this was something that had been around and is, this is something that your body is going to create anyway. No, it is not going to create something anyway. The spike protein is very specific to the COVID family. It really wasn't created. They hadn't seen this before. Actually, COVID and using this with mRNA. I had no idea. I mean, again, I didn't know what it meant at all.
You have neurons, you have cardiomyocytes in your heart expressing on the cell surface non-human toxic protein. So what happens then? Well, then you have your own body's going to come and attack those cells, right? It doesn't want these foreign invaders. And that's why we see things like myocarditis. That's why we see endothelial damage, clotting. That's why we see many of these issues.
So you have that. I'm sorry, but is that literally what goes on then? Is the body's reaction to these mRNAs just trying to reject them as a foreign body, like it doesn't want it? Is that kind of what it's doing?
Well, that's only one of the ways of damage, right? So yeah, we have the own body attacking the cells producing it, but then you have this literally toxic protein that will start to circulate in your body, circulate in the bloodstream, and deposit in vital organ systems. And this protein itself is highly damaging to tissues, and the body doesn't like it. It's a toxin, and so you have this circulating, and then you have DNA plasmids that are in these lipid nano that were not clear. Spike encoding DNA, you have SV40 promoter enhancer, which they use at the factory to make this mRNA, and all this genetic material gets deposited. And we believe now we have many points of evidence. We have many studies now and many laboratory tests that indicate likely genomic integration of some of this material. So,
all right, just stop right there. So the messenger RNA, mRNA, tells your body to create this antigen, which in this case is the spike protein. In this case, protein isn't like chicken or something like that, like how we think of, oh, this is a positive thing. It's just proteins is just like a chain of amino acids, if you will, or just a chain of different molecules. But the message that is coming, that it is giving your body for messenger RNA, the message is create this specific combination. The specific combination it creates, when you look under a microscope, it has a structure of spikes. So I guess that's where they get the cell, the name spike, and then the rest is protein, which is a chain of the amino acids. But it's creating something. Here's the difference. The difference is the traditional vaccine took a little piece of the virus. This doesn't need the virus. It's just going to give your body an instruction to create something. Now, what I don't think that they had, I'm pretty sure of it, but I'm going to say allegedly because I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure, but allegedly, I don't think that these companies designed it to the point where it was able to create a limited amount, or give the instructions of creating a limited amount of spike protein. I don't think it had a specific amount created up until this point. I believe that these scientists thought it would just balance itself out and it would stop creating it at a certain point. But as we would listen, that is not what happened. And it kept on creating these antigens. Let's keep listening.
Yeah, these are not vaccines. These are dangerous gene transfer technologies, and they did not prevent COVID-19.
Right. So I'll ask one more question in defining this then. So you said earlier it was more intended to be like a gene therapy or whatnot, or some kind of use for I guess changing the genetic code. Is that correct? Does it affect the genetic code of someone or anybody? I guess my question is, what was the actual intention of it? If it was intended for genetic therapy, what kind of therapy is that? And
excellent question, George. Excellent question. And I want to take a sidebar to say that humans can't be trusted. Right? Because from the moment we started sequencing DNA, obviously we weren't going to be satisfied with just sequencing. We're sequencing for a reason, right? To make sense out of the DNA. Then once they got past the part of sequencing the DNA, in somewhere around the 90s, it became public information that they were able to edit the genes. If we knew about it in the 90s and it became public knowledge in the 90s, that means they were able to do these 50s, 60s, way before the 90s, I'll tell you that. So like everything else, even with the internet, they already had plans. I think we must stop underestimating their ability to play the long game, because they could play the long game like nobody's business, right? They got us out here that thinking that Jeff Bezos started Amazon in a garage with no help, and then his idea just blew up. Not knowing that his grandfather worked for the Department of Defense in special projects, advanced special projects, right? So he was one of the first people to work on the internet itself. The idea of the internet. Jeff Bezos' grandfather was a project manager. It's real funny how they conveniently leave these things out. And the same thing with Bill Gates, which we don't know if these kids was part of some type of other MK Ultra program. I don't know. That is speculation and conspiracy theory right there, what I just said. Not the part about his grandfather, but me insinuating that Jeff Bezos might have been a part of some type of program. But what's not conspiracy theory is these coincidences where we find out these people's grandparents was part of the military, was part of the government, and it cannot be happenstance that these people became the leaders of the world in technology. And are they the true leaders of the world, or are they the front people? Is Elon Musk just a front? Is Larry Fink just a front? Just a person that's there to sit in that position. If it wasn't going to be them, it was going to be somebody else. They would have chosen. We don't know. Let him finish cooking.
Exactly. What was the intention of its invention in the first place?
Right. So they claim that instructing your body to produce these proteins makes antibodies that will protect you from the virus. So that was their purpose. That's why they call it a vaccine, because they say the antibodies that you produce will, help prevent you from being infected. Like they claimed in 2021, they said you won't get infected. Now we have 8 studies that show an increased risk of infection. 8 studies, like these don't protect you, they actually serve as infection promoters. So so it's really a disaster, but it does not serve its purpose of protecting people from anything, unfortunately. And so, like they claim now, they've been making this,
which is crazy, because Crazy Joe or Sloppy Joe or whatever you want to call him got up there and said, listen, the fact is, if you get the shot, you're not going to get COVID. He said that. Those are his words, not mine. He didn't know what he was talking about, right? You know why? Because we live in a fascist state. So really, it's the corporations that run everything. It's the banks that run everything. All of these, and it's sad when your senator, your representative from your district is down here cow tipping and caving in to the demands of these, not just technocrats. And I don't want to boil it down to just capitalists, because I believe in capitalism. But when you get to the point where the capitalists have enough money to dictate what goes on in society, this is a dangerous place. Now we're in a dangerous place. Hit the like button for me if you haven't hit it already. Now we're in a dangerous place. So Joe Biden didn't know what he was talking about. I don't want to point out him like I want to have a beef about the Democrats tonight. That's not the time. That's not the tone of my voice. I'm just saying none of them usually do. A lot of these people are signing off on bills they barely read, but because they were told to sign off and given a little envelope with some money in it, they do it.
mRNA technology for decades. BARDA in 2012 launched the ADEPT P3 program, where they wanted to make messenger RNA therapeutics, or what they call countermeasures, against respiratory viruses or pandemics. And so they've been wanting to deploy this for a long period of time. And then, this situation in 2020 gave them that chance.
That's crazy. So it seems like they used the COVID pandemic as an excuse to actually test it on the general public. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, that's correct.
Which we know. That's why none of us understand why Fauci a slap on the wrist for releasing a biological weapon. It doesn't matter if you handed it off to China and oh, they was doing it over there. Yo, bro, you shouldn't have been doing it anyway. You shouldn't have been practicing gain of function, regardless of the fact it is just it was so dangerous. But it's not gonna, just because it's dangerous, it doesn't mean people are gonna stop, or companies are gonna stop, or governments are gonna stop. Somebody's gonna get out here and try to weaponize uh biologic weapons. They're just going to do it, right? But it's the release for me, right? It's the cover up. I mean, I don't even know if it was really planned well, or let's just say it wasn't planned at all. The fact that he tried to cover it up makes it look suspicious, which we know him and Christian Anderson definitely tried. And not just those two, but his whole team. They all tried to cover it up. So it makes it look like you released this thing on purpose. Sidebar. Let me ask you something. Would you take an AIDS vaccine? Not an AIDS mRNA vaccine, but would you take an HIV vaccine? Knowing that if you took the HIV vaccine, is going to have to give you a little bit of HIV. I'm asking, not to be facetious, but because I wish more people was in here so I could have a real conversation. But the amount of people that have been diagnosed with HIV since the pandemic has grown, drastically. And a little piece of me thinks, like, does this have to do with COVID at all? I've heard rumors of some of the same things that are in COVID-19 could be in HIV. I don't know how true it is. It was just a thought in my head. I don't know. If that's the truth, I don't know. Let's keep listening.
Tested in animals before. It killed many of them.
So I'm going to ask you this, Nicholas, and I'm going to be respectful. So please, if you think I'm interrupting you, just tell me to shut up, because I've watched one of the other interviews you're on. It's like you almost couldn't get a word in, and I felt bad for you in that situation. I won't say which one that was. But I want to start going through some of his questions because you defined it for us. Okay, so now we have a better understanding of that. But there's something else that's still a little fuzzy, because before. And this is something that I read. So again, we only can believe what has been told to us to be the truth, right? That's why we rely on people like you. So it's been said that before COVID that mRNA was like seen as a way to cure diseases, actually, and could also could be used as a way to cure maybe even all diseases. And so the question being is, does that still have is that still something that could be done with mRNA under the right circumstances? And could it then also possibly used for curing cancer? I mean, so I guess, was it used in the wrong context, when it came to COVID, or is there still something with mRNA that could be used for positive and curing diseases and maybe even cancer? Is that a truth, or is that just a rumor or propaganda or lie that was spread just to make us accept it?
Right. Well, I would say from the billions of doses that were now injected of messenger RNA technology and the catastrophe that has occurred, I would not trust this technology to work optimally without major side effects for any disease, unfortunately, right? We would think, okay, well, cancer, right, they're going to be investigating.
And I would probably say that for right now. In theory, mRNA sounds like it could possibly, if we worked on it for a little bit longer, And this is me, I'm not no scientist, obviously. I'm just using basic, hold on, logic and reason, right? Forgive me. I'm trying to set this up correctly. There we go. I'm just using basic logic and reason. If we was able to figure out how to edit DNA, then it kind of only makes sense that you're able to tell and program a message and say, okay, create this. But that don't mean they had any experience in actually doing it, so it would have made us guinea pigs, a worldwide guinea pig project, which they had to have been working on this way before they just released this. And I don't think it's by accident that it was released. I think some people jumped the gun. And why did they jump the gun is the biggest question. Well, a lot is happening at one time, right? You have the release of different technologies, the race to who will monopolize the technologies first. Now, what do I mean by that? George Church discovered that we could download digital information to DNA. Well, you got to understand, there's some people in this world that they're not going to sit by and just take that type of information without thinking, how do I make money off of that? And I need to be the first to make money off of that. So the race starts soon as the information's out there that we could do certain things. The race has started. People are investing in all type of analysts and engineers, and they got their team working on it. And then after that, everyone is trying to get there first. That's the problem. And it doesn't matter what's actually proven. Now you got angel investors. Everyone's racing to get the capital behind them so they could be first. And it's reckless. So I don't believe that mRNA was even close to being perfected to the use. I don't think that it can't be used one day for its intended purpose. Or everything that they said that it can do. I don't believe that it won't be able to do that one day. I do believe it will be able to do exactly what they said it's going to do one day. Obviously, that day is not yesterday or today.
Yeah, for cancer, they're going to be investigating it for some genetic defects. They're going to be investigating it for muscular dystrophy. But the problem is that the technology is so it's not ready for human use. It goes to every organ system. There's no targeting mechanism. It produces an unlimited, undefined amount of antigen that it tells your body to make, and there's no off switch. And so you basically just inject these instructions for your entire body to start making foreign proteins. Now, for cancer, they might instruct it to make non-foreign proteins, which maybe would have a less side effect profile. But this technology has proven its failure for all infectious diseases. Now, yeah, as they move on to cancer and these other things, I don't have high hopes for it. It's been far too catastrophic in the harms we have detected now. It has dysregulated the gene expressions, thousands of gene expressions. A recent study we just put out did find that. This would probably be the case with even cancer mRNA vaccines. This will be the case when now they're pushing AI generated cancer mRNA shots. It appears to just be another fraud. They like to push technology, even if it fails. They make large loads of money from it. And I don't know, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe all of a sudden, they'll develop a cancer cure mRNA injection. But
would be nice to be wrong on that one, right?
Yeah. That appears to be a century away.
Right. Yeah. So I have what you said earlier leads me into this. So with mRNA vaccines being pushed, there has been evidence that the mRNA vaccine in relation to being used for COVID-19, there is now evidence that it did lead to turbo cancers. Is that something that is a real finding? Is that true?
Yes, it's very real. Unlike what the media that's funded by pharmaceutical giants likes to suggest,
I definitely read that these articles where they make it seem like turbo cancer is a fake thing, which is crazy. As we will hear him explain, it is a very real thing. And several studies have been done. And apparently, this technology right now, until they get a tame on things, has a propensity to create these turbo cancers. Unfortunately. Allegedly.
They don't suggest, they actually declare that turbo cancers are a myth and they don't exist, right? So that's what they say. But there's actually 100 studies.
100.
Literature revealed this. 100 studies show there's about 17 distinct mechanisms that these injections may cause or accelerate cancers. And then a new study which just came out, peer-reviewed, first author Dr. Merrick, and it defines COVID-19 mRNA injection-induced turbo cancer. And so this is literally, it's a cancer that kind of accelerates uncharacteristically. It wasn't seen before the pandemic, and then you have these cancers drastically spread at a very high pace that is just not normal. And these individuals unfortunately succumb to this cancer at a much faster pace than
just in case you trying to think of why RFK, or if there's a lot of groupthink out there. So people think that there's plenty of people that feel like favor of this particular what they call a vaccine, which doesn't appear to be a vaccine at all. That you're against vaccines, right? They put words in your mouth, or you're anti-vaxxer. These are sheeple. And just in case you're wondering why Robert Kennedy, if he does, I'm not saying he has not made any announcement, or Donald Trump is against the vaccine, this particular vaccine, it's because it doesn't work. And not only doesn't it work, it hurts people. So why we keep getting these people who continue to push something that doesn't work is crazy. It's like, who are you, right? I'm talking even your senators and your Congress people. Why are you guys continue? I know the answer. It's a rhetorical question. The answer is because you're getting money from somewhere, which means you don't care about us. Your pockets are getting lined like never before. Somebody's pool is getting paid for somewhere. You understand? And if you're not getting paid, then they have a blackmail picture on you doing something ridiculous. That you was out of your mind or in your right state of mind. doing that you don't want nobody to see? We're in a bad position down here on planet Earth. We are in a bad position down here on planet Earth.
Classical cancer that may have been caused, by an environmental factor, long-term exposure to something. These injections usually, many of these people will have a cancer, right? Cancer in their body, it's kind of been checked by their immune system, and these injections go in, dysregulate immune function, cause immune collapse, and then you have this proliferation of their existing cancer into a full-blown turbo cancer. And so this is all biologically plausible. It's seen in the population level data. We see somebody named Ethical Skeptic.
I just realized, because I'm in a different state, that different viewers may be watching me that don't know who I am. My name is Jamel Saladin. This is the Poker Face Society. Do subscribe to this channel. I'm not politically correct, and I do talk about everybody, which means at some point I'm going to talk about your group, but I talk about my own group, so don't worry about that. I talk about everybody, but I'm fair and I'm balanced with it, right? But I'm not going to treat you any different than I treat everybody else. And we have open and honest discussions over here about everything. We will talk about aliens. We will talk about laws that's being passed, right? We'll talk about everything. But in fairness, if you're a religious person, there's aliens in the Bible. There's aliens in the Torah. There's aliens in the Quran. Don't worry about the alien talk. We'll get past that. That's my forewarning. My channel's not for everybody. I can tell you that. It's not for everybody. But, yeah, just wanted to give you a little heads up on who I am. Do subscribe. Don't be a stranger over here on the channel. I forgot I'm in a different state, and sometimes when you're in a different area, it promotes your channel to different areas.
He does very great analytical work with the CDC data. And there's been over 100,000 excess cancer deaths.
And you can contribute that to this mRNA vaccine?
Yes, this mRNA and spike, specifically actually the spike protein. Spike protein that induces appears to be carcinogenic. It suppresses tumor suppressor genes, so your body can't suppress them as well. And it literally impairs immune function. It appears to induce vaccine-acquired immune deficiency, or VAIDS. That's now evidenced by hundreds of studies. And so, it's not good. It's not good at all.
And so what do you say to those who were forced to take this particular vaccine in order to keep their jobs? And how much more damage were they doing to their bodies? In taking all these boosters, like 6, 7, 8, 9 boosters, isn't that evidence in and of itself enough that this vaccine didn't even work?
It's clear evidence it was not working, right? At first, regulatory agencies claimed you only needed, one dose. Oh, just take one dose, or these 2 first doses, the primary series. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, now you're going to need a booster. Oh, now you're going to need another booster. No, another one. And it just kept coming. And some people fell for this. They were tricked or coerced by mandates or false public health advice that was based on basically completely flawed data, basically made up lies. Literally lies, actually, because they didn't know any of the true safety profile. You need about 5 to 15 years for genetic products. So to those individuals that took many boosters, the best course of action will be to don't take any more boosters. The more boosters you take, shown in a study by Shrestha and colleagues, means you have a higher risk of infection per dose, right? So if you get 4 doses, you have like a 300% increased risk of infection. 1 dose was not nearly as high. So, Yeah, you want to refrain from booster doses for sure.
So there are those who took these mRNA vaccines who feel that they felt worse, that they didn't actually feel better, and that somehow it may have affected their immune system because all of a sudden they're getting sick much easier. They're getting like common colds and whatnot that are much harder for them to get over. And is that a side effect? Is that something that can be confirmed to be a side effect of the mRNA? And the other part to this question is, how can someone reverse the damage of the mRNA in the vaccine? Like, how can their body get rid of these mRNAs?
Yeah, so it's called post-vaccination syndrome or long vaccine syndrome. It's similar to long COVID, and it's induced by the vaccine. And so it appears to be much worse and longer lasting than long COVID. But yeah, so it appears microclotting, and so your blood is not circulating properly, and many other different issues. And so if you have this high burden of this toxic spike protein, you're going to want to clear that out, or at least help the body clear it out, because our body does not have any innate clearing mechanisms to get it out. And
so let's pause there for a second. Shout out to David Icke, who says, according to David Icke, studies have shown that graphene was found in some of these vaccines. If you're not familiar with vaccine, it is a transparent, flexible, very strong, stronger than diamond and steel material, but the real highlight of graphene is the fact that it is highly conductive. That's the real highlight. Personally, I think they were relying on the fact that due to the Fair Trade Act, they never had to mention what it's in these vaccines. But I'm mentioning it right now because we all heard about the clotting, right? So in 2016 at the European Summit, two things were first mentioned at this 2016 Global Summit: nanotechnology and graphene. And this is kind of like the beginning conversations of these two different technologies. And I call that graphene a technology because this particular graphene I'm talking about was there's a natural, it's not called graphene, it's called something else. But because it was natural, they had to recreate it, right? And add whatever they was going to add so that it could be proprietary, so that they can make money off of it, right? Because from what I hear, they couldn't make money off it the other way. They had to manipulate it somehow within this century so that they can make money. If we talk about capitalists here. But I already gave you the characteristics of graphene. So we know that it has the ability to act like an antenna within our anatomy. So the number one question in 2016 at the European Global Summit was, how much graphene could you put in a person before it's detrimental? That was the question. Are we finding out? I don't know. I don't want to sit up here and gaslight you and tell you, I guess we're finding out. Because, according to these pharmaceutical companies, they're telling us they didn't put any graphene in there. Are they telling us the truth? I don't know. Do you think they're telling you the truth? Do you think they've ever told you the truth? It's up to you. I don't care. If you like it, I love it.
So at the McCullough Foundation, we identified 3 compounds. We do have a peer-reviewed study published on this. 3 compounds: nattokinase, bromelain, and curcumin. And these have shown in the test tube experimentally and in case reports to clear out the spike-induced clots and even degrade the spike protein directly. And so that's what we have so far. That's what Dr. McCullough recommends to his patients who do have high levels of spike antibodies, which is the way of measuring it now. So let's go to that now. To know what your spike protein burden is right now we do use antibody testing as a proxy. And so usually, if you're over 1,000, then there are some risks, and you're likely either exposed to COVID or you got the vaccine. And usually those with the vaccine, another study came out, and there's a lot of studies coming out. Another study came out that showed vaccinated individuals have 7 times higher spike antibodies compared to those who just got the infection. So it installs much more spike. And so, clearing these out is critical. That McCullough protocol-based spike detoxification does appear to be a promising method. We do need to undergo long-term clinical trials, double-blind, placebo-controlled, to really assess its efficacy. But we don't right now. 80% of the, actually no, not 80%. 80% got the mRNA shots. 99% of the population has been exposed to the synthetic SARS-CoV-2 spike protein, either from the infection or from the injections.
Stop right there. I don't know about those numbers. I don't know if they're true. None of those things. His name is Nicholas Holscher. You can check him out. He works at the McCullough Foundation, the Peter McCullough Foundation. I'm not saying he's a liar. I believe what he's saying. I just can't vouch for those numbers. Those are some pretty high numbers. I do believe him, but I got to protect my brand and my channel over here. So look into it yourself is what I'm saying. However, either way, he says, we're affected, whether it's from the virus or the solution. We've all been affected by this spike protein, what he calls an artificial spike protein.
So the whole entire population was poisoned, and so we need to find answers as soon as possible. We cannot wait years, for these clinical trials. So, we do have to scramble for these solutions. And one other thing, for those who, feel terrible after their mRNA shot, they don't feel better. There's one key thing that needs to happen is you have to raise your vitamin D levels to adequate levels. Most are low. There's 2 studies now that show when you raise those vitamin D levels, it actually reduces or improves your symptoms if you have post-vaccination syndrome.
Well, where do you get vitamin D from? You get vitamin D from the sun, naturally. Who tried to block out the sun? Now, before I get into any conspiracy theories about why someone tried to block out the sun, who tried to block out the sun? Don't try to jump the gun, right? I know what you're thinking. Oh, you conspiracy. All right, before you even say I'm on a conspiracy theory trail, did anybody try to block out the sun? Yes or no? The answer is emphatically yes. Emphatically yes. Who, for a fact, tried to block out the sun? Bill Gates. Now you may ask, and you may make your comments about how I'm spreading conspiracy theories about why he tried. I don't know why he tried to block out the sun, but I do know why he tried to block out the sun. But I don't know why. Why did he say he tried to block out the sun? To protect us? Well, no one asked for your help, and that is a lousy idea to try to help us in any sense, because it is preventing us from getting the vitamins that we naturally need. And furthermore, that is how life exists on this planet. That is how we get oxygen. If we do not have the sun, we don't have life, literally. Why would you try to block the sun? But just enough. Think about this. Just enough. So he didn't try to block it out like totally black. But he did want to block it out to the point where you wouldn't even have noticed that the sun is being blocked with the small particles that's reflecting the sunlight black, right? This was going to decrease the amount of vitamin D that people naturally got, so they weren't able to fight off the infection. Do you understand? This actually happened. This is not conspiracy theory. You can look this up. Matter of fact, go look it up. I challenge you. Look up Bill Gates tried to block out the sun. Go look it up. Then tell me who's the conspiracy theorist.
And that was one study. And the other one found it decreases severity of myocarditis. So what you really want to do is get sunlight, right, to raise those levels, because you get all the other benefits of sunlight. Thousands of them. Improves, cellular function, improves mitochondrial function. So you want to get sunlight as your form of vitamin D if you can. But that is absolutely critical, right? If you're not doing anything, you want to pick one thing, that is something that is highly recommended.
Let's talk about the other concerns of mRNA and specifically how it affects our food supply. And there's a lot of questions as to whether or not mRNA is transferable. So, it's been...
Jesus Christ. We're down here with a bunch of mad scientists. Mad scientists. Number one being that goddamn Bill, excuse my French, but Bill Gates is a psychopath. An unadulterated psychopath. Not only has he tried to block out the sun, as I just explained to you, but then he's going on to put this technology that has a poor efficacy rate into food. These people have not even really studied this thing long enough to not to see if it worked or just make it work. Not sure if it works, and then when you find out it doesn't work and you still want people to use it, is it me or should not be classified as poisoning? I mean, you found out that this doesn't work. It doesn't work. It makes people sick and kills people. And yet, our treasonous CDC still went up there and said we should be taking these things. I actually read on the CDC page that they was aware of the adverse effect of myocarditis, and at the end of the explanation of them knowing about it, here's that paragraph. However, we still suggest. Well, do you? That's wild. There's inflammation in the heart that you know about. You still suggest that we take this thing that you call a vaccine, which is obviously not a vaccine, and it doesn't work? Yikes.
Used in various vaccines, specifically in our meat supply. So is that mRNA transferable? Like, will it transfer to humans who are consuming this meat? Is that something that has been studied? Is that something that can happen, and is it something that we should be cautious of or look out for?
This is completely unknown at this point because it's never been tested.
Exactly.
But you would think they would test it right before they do such foolish things like this, but they don't test it, so we don't know. But you know, I think it would be hard for the lipid nanoparticles and mRNA constructs to survive the cooking process. But again, we don't know. Now, since if these animals were injected with mRNA, they will be producing these toxic antigens. And so you would be consuming these toxic antigens. And, you know, there is still a possibility, though, that yes, this mRNA could reach your circulation. We just have no idea. This has to be immediately tested. Now, what's most concerning about the injection of animals is the self-amplifying RNA particle injections by Merck.
Just stop right there. To the sensible people that's watching me right now, I would like to have a conversation with you. What would make anybody so focused on getting something in someone that doesn't work? In my opinion, it can't be for the reason that they're telling me they want it in, not to help me, right? Not for this, not for something that apparently didn't even have, it wasn't really that serious, right? As far as what made COVID-19 very serious is incompetence. That's all it was. And the people who knew how to resolve this quickly, one, they wasn't going to say anything. The people that found out was censored and silenced. If you have not read RFK's book, The Real Dr. Fauci, one of the things that I cannot forget about from that book is the fact that he taught me that HQC, how do you pronounce it? Hydroxychloroquine, that had been around for decades. And it was an over-the-counter drug that was used like, just one of your basic functions in a lot of countries, just over-the-counter, like Tylenol. You wanted to use it. It was your go-to for a lot of things. And it was highly beneficial, for a lack of a better word. Like, it was, the efficacy rate of it was high, it was good. It was used for a number of things that it was used for. And one of the strangest things in the world is that right before COVID dropped, countries had started to ban it. Particularly, I'm talking about France and Canada. Ban it from it being used over the counter, right? And now it had to be prescribed. This is right before COVID got released, which tells us again, somebody knew. You knew about this. The same way they say that some Jewish people knew that 9/11 was going to happen because they did not come to work. They said, whether that's true or not, hey, believe what you want to believe. I know what I believe, right? I'm not here to talk about that conspiracy theory. But it's too much of a coincidence for this drug to have been used over the counter all these years, and then right before the actual vaccine outbreak takes place, miraculously and quietly, it is pulled from a over-the-counter drug to now having to be prescribed, and then the United States went crazy and started burning all the supplies of it. That's wild and crazy. And I don't know. What is someone supposed to believe after that?
They already rolled this out. It's being given by vets all across the country to dogs and cats for various viruses. The most prominent one, including rabies, right? They recommend rabies vaccinations to basically all animals. And so now they have a self-amplifying RNA one, and this one could most definitely shed onto human owners as it self-replicates in your cat or dog, and they come and lick you, or you're exposed to their bodily fluids. This can probably reach your circulation, and then the self-amplifying RNA will end up in your body and maybe even uptaken into your cells, and you will then also be producing rabies antigens. And so this is it.
It's funny that he mentions rabies antigens, and the first thing obviously I think about when he says rabies is The Walking Dead, right? Why did they show us The Walking Dead? Why do they continue to show us movies like World War Z? Why do they continue to show us movies like I Am Legend? Why is the storyline always a vaccine, a virus breaks out that the government created? Is that conspiracy theory? Or is the fact that the ability to write a code to your body and tell it to create something, and it does it, a sign that a rabies-like virus can be induced into the masses? I don't know where this is going, but I can tell you I don't like how it's starting, because I don't think we're done yet. I think we're just getting started with this. And not for nothing, Bill Gates said another pandemic is coming. But that's Bill Gates. He's just your local neighborhood crazy mad scientist.
Absolute catastrophe that has to be stopped.
Okay, so let's touch on the viral shedding. How exactly can the mRNA vaccine, for example, let's say like a kid got the mRNA vaccine and they're around other people, so how can that be transferred to other people through viral shedding? Like, how does that happen?
Yes, there's a study by Sue Peters and colleagues that found women in unvaccinated women in close proximity to vaccinated individuals outside of the household did experience an increase in menstrual cycle abnormalities, heavier bleeding, period delays, etc. They experienced these increased risks when they reported they were within 6 feet of these vaccinated individuals outside of the household. So that's all we have really for shedding studies. They haven't really bothered to conduct anything else, but we do know that the mRNA technology does disrupt menstrual cycles. And so when we see unvaccinated women experiencing these who are in proximity to the vaccinated, that does indicate shedding is indeed real, and it appears to be the case. Biologically, it makes sense because likely what's shedding is actually this spike protein in what's called exosomes, right? The body appears to encapsulate the spike protein in these exosomes, and these can likely be exhaled in breath, in saliva, during sexual intercourse. This may be able to transmit. Now, the mRNA has been found in breast milk, and so for babies, for moms that are breastfeeding, this mRNA may be able to transfer to the baby via breast milk. And so there's many different.
So the players, it appears this was a global inoculation, but for what purpose? Right? Obviously, this was a global. I'm not trying to, me personally, I'm not really trying to hear this was an accident of any sort or the kind. This was definitely planned. If you have any type of good sense, you know that. But what was the real purpose? Obviously, it was not to prevent you. It has nothing to do with what they said. Right? So if we're speculating, but just eliminating the whatever garbage that they said, oh, this is because we didn't want you to catch COVID. Well, if you didn't release COVID on purpose, then we wouldn't have to worry about that. But you did release it on purpose. So what's the real reason? You wanted to get this thing into me so bad. And as I end my show, I'm going to tell you my theory. I've already told you my theory about, well, I didn't tell you my theory. I told you that graphene was found by some researchers. Different metals, actually, in graphene were found in the inoculations. Being that these materials like graphene are so conductive, obviously, with the transformation that we're going under right now with the fourth industrial revolution and everything being switched over to a digital aspect, right? Our entire existence is going digital. The entire platform, we will down to our economy, right? We're going to be in the blockchain. Everything will be tracked somehow digitally. It will have a different digital fingerprint, whether we call that an NFT, whether we call it a smart contract. There's nothing that won't go on, that won't be digitally recorded and kept records of. There's going to be cameras everywhere. That's one part of it. But if you look at Sam Altman, if you look with his WorldCoin, if you look at Elon Musk with his Neuralink, you see the signs of total control, right? WorldCoin is going to take a scan of your retina in order for certain processes to take place financially, right? So it would have a unique ID on you. Neuralink wants to get in your mind, obviously. So they want to get down to the point of there's no privacy. Not even your thoughts will be private, which is kind of crazy. And you got to ask yourself, who's crazier? What they're doing or me telling you that there's a species that's not like me and you that's pushing for this agenda, right? I know I sound crazy to you because you've never heard this before. So if I tell you, hey man, the reptilians, as soon as I say reptilians, you're like, oh, you one of them that believe in that? And I say, oh, you don't believe? You believe it's somebody like me and you down here that's purposely trying to poison us all? And trying to put us in some type of enslavement? All of it is working together in tandem. Everything you see right now is working in tandem. Whether it's the falling of the dollar, That has to fall. First of all, the dollar has to be this obliterated completely, but they have to do it in a way that's not abrupt, right? So you don't notice what's going on. So that's what you see right now, this whole dog and plat. They would like to have everything implemented by the year 2030. That's according to the partnership, the legit partnership between the United Nations and the World Economic Forum. That's not a conspiracy. That's an actual partnership that they came together and said, hey, let's. But then you would have to ask yourself who's the champion or the sponsor behind that, right? Everything is in tandem. When you put it all together and you really think about every aspect of it, from the economy, from the new dollar, the digital coin, right? Most of these digital coins won't exist. They're going to boil them down to a few that will be working. Right now, it's real festive, so it keeps you distracted because you're able to trade and make money off of them. But don't worry, as they're no longer needed because everything is in place and all the laws are in place and all the mechanisms are in place to control you, you will slowly see a lot of those different dazzlers and razzle dazzle coins disappear, right? Because nothing's going to be tied to it. Nothing's going to be tied to it. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out, like, if you can't be used, you're useless, right? So if no one's using your coin to be for business, what the hell is that? Yeah, so like I said, right now it's, let's make money using digital coin. Yeah, get all the money you can. If you like it, I love it. But don't stop paying attention. Like, they're running universal basic income tests right now, not for the kicks of it, not because it's not going to come to fruition. It is coming, obviously, because the combination of robotics, automation, and artificial intelligence when you combine those three things together, they can do a lot of things that humans could do. So there's just going to be less jobs on this planet. Sorry, I had a thought there about the amount of money that's in circulation. How much money do you think is in circulation? Not trillions. There's only like billions of dollars in circulation. But there's 300 million people probably in the United States alone, right? Right now, there's not enough money. Right now, there's not enough money for every household. People have money because of the Babylonian money magic machine. So this whole infrastructure has to be recreated because we're come to the end of the Ponzi scheme that, thanks to Paul Wahlberg, him and his brother Max Wahlberg doing the bidding of the Rothschilds, came to the United States and they wrote out our economic structure that we're using right now, and it was all a Ponzi scheme, all of it. Federal Reserve. What Federal Reserve? Private banks lending out money without even having the money to lend. That's how this all got started. We called it fractional reserve banking. Then the digital system was created, the screen, the monitor, which even that's like fractional reserve banking on steroids. You get chartered as a bank, You were supposed to have at least 20% in there. Now you get chartered as a bank. You don't even have to have that in there. You just creating money willy-nilly. Well, we obviously there's going to be some form of inflation there. And the Ponzi scheme goes on. They couldn't keep up with it. Nonetheless, Klaus Schwab is correct. We are in the fourth industrial revolution, but this rabbit hole goes deep. And this time, see, they cite you out with that whole blockchain business and, oh, Bitcoin's going to be in the blockchain and don't worry, it's going to be decentralized. And if you haven't caught on by now, I had people arguing with me. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, Saladin. It's going to be decentralized from the banks. Are you kidding me? That's what you thought? You thought that these gods on earth was going to give up their power to some random invention of a digital coin? Oh, you think the digital coin is random? You believe the story of Satoshi Nakamoto? Oh, well, carry on then. Don't listen to me. I don't even know why you stopped by my channel. I have nothing to say for you. I have nothing for you. If you believe that story, I have nothing for you. All right. Thank you for watching my channel tonight. One person says, stop the shots. I didn't see any more comments after that. Maybe people did write comments. Maybe they didn't. I know YouTube doesn't like when I do shows like this, and they would just stop people from commenting and this, that, and the third. So maybe it wasn't you. I highly doubt I did an entire show and nobody was able to write a comment. Nonetheless, if you did write a comment, I did not see a comment because YouTube prevented me from seeing it. So shout out to anybody that is part of the Poker Face Society, and I have not shouted you out. I have not shouted you out because I have not seen your name pop up in the comments, but shout you out all. It's just that these are the type of shows that they act funny on, and we know they're going to censor and this, that, and the third, but there's still shows that we need to do. They wrote about this in the Bible, chapter 11 in Genesis. They wrote how the gods feared when we would come together and work together because we would reach plateaus that they did not want us to reach. And in the story, they was building a tower to Babel, to the heavens, right? And to different portals. They don't like when we work together. This is why they write certain laws of congregating together in groups and stuff like that. They fear us working in tandem. They fear the Nordic Lyran Pleiadian working with the Anunnaki Maldekian Andromedan species down here. They don't want us working together. You understand me? They don't want the Orions working with the Syrians. Right? Never mind the race class system that they told you about. There is a race class system, but a humanoid race class system that they don't ever want you to know about. And this is why I say I really think the reptilians are behind this, because they had control of this planet before the Galactic Federation of Light sent so many other species down here on this planet. I don't know who you thought Eve was talking to in the Bible, but maybe now you know. Nonetheless, they apparently want this planet back, and they will do anything to get this planet back, but they have patience. But so far, things are going in their favor. I can tell you that. If we could think outside of the box instead of being triggered so much, because they use the same playbook all the time, right? They want us to look at each other's phenotype, our characteristics of our outside shell, and always have a problem with each other. So they want the black man to have a problem with the white man. They want white people to think a certain way about black people. We'd be offended. And this keeps us from working together to really fight off our common enemy, because we are not our common enemy, right? But they're going to make it seem like they're going to find a reason for us to hate each other. I promise you this. And then as we stop falling for that, all they're going to do is keep splintering off and making different factions, like they made transgenders, right? Transgenders wasn't even a group, but they figured, can we keep killing black boys, using cops to kill black boys? How long is that going to work, right? So let's create another group now to make it seem like everybody hates them. Yo, not for nothing, you didn't even exist. How are we going to hate a group that didn't even exist? So what do? They create the group. They pump the group up to the point where you can only hate this group, right? We're going to have this group. We're going to put this group in your first grade classrooms. Like, don't worry. By the time we're done with this, you will hate this group. And then we will highlight the fact that you hate this group, and there's going to be more chaos. So this whole thing is very strategic. It's organized chaos, if you will. But subscribe to my channel as I slowly break down what they're doing, and when they're not blocking you from making comments on my show, we love to have intelligent conversations over here, critical, thoughtful conversations over here. Shout out to Tisha. I got your message. I didn't know, I never know who stays and who goes, but I definitely miss the times that all of us are in the conversations together and we're really building. But they don't really allow us to do that a lot for reasons that I have already explained to you. So that being the case, the best thing you can do is hit the alarm button for notifications. Even if you hit it already, hit it, unalarm it, and then hit it again to re-alarm it, so it re-triggers the system, right? Another thing that YouTube likes to do is unsubscribe people from my channel. Like, they just do it, right? I have several people here that have to keep resubscribing to my channel multiple times throughout the year because YouTube decides to just unsubscribe them. I'm used to these things by now. I just want you to know about them, because channels like mine are heavily shadow banned. And if somehow you did find my channel, consider yourself blessed and lucky. But also, it's not for no reason. Go ahead and hit that subscription button, subscribe, and come over and have some conversation with us, right? I don't really care your gender, your race, your star seed. You understand? I don't accept pedophiles. So please, if you are any type of weirdo or freak in that nature, please don't come over here, because I hate your guts. That's a fact. Now, that being said, you guys have a great night. I usually only do 2-hour shows. So I'm going to go ahead and relax and get ready for tomorrow. All right? Thanks a lot for coming through. I'll holler at you later. Peace out.